Okay, people, thanks for coming back to my channel. If you watched the True Beginners video, you should remember some of the key ideas about verb, noun, adjective, making statements, and asking closed questions, open questions, and choose questions. And we can communicate using the action of be. In this series, we are going to practice using the action of do, the simple present actions. It's called the simple present, but actually it isn't so simple. There are a few tricks that you need to know. Okay, so let's get started using the actions of do. Do is a simple present action, which is up here in the top of the screen. We could use do, go, eat, have, like. These are all simple actions. There are many, many simple action words in English. We'll just use these 5 to show you some examples. Now, the verbs communicate an action in the present time, and they are called the simple present form of the verb. When we use the action verbs, we can make a statement, and the statement communicates about the action. It's the same as using the action of be, that we have a very simple formula that we can use. And the formula or the structure of the statement is like this. First, we'll have the subject, the verb, and the noun. Okay? So we could make a very simple statement. I like sushi. Now, we do not need a time word. We don't need an auxiliary because the simple present verb communicates the present time. So the time is gone. We can change the subject, the verb, and the noun in the simple present structure. For example, I have 2 bicycles. I go to the supermarket. Or I eat pasta. Something that many people do not understand is that we use the present auxiliary verb of do. So there are auxiliary verbs for the actions of be and do. Now this idea is very important. Now, the full structure for the do statement has the auxiliary verb of do. So notice there are 2 do's in English language. The action of do here, and the auxiliary verb do is here. So the structure becomes I do eat pasta. Now, most people do not speak the auxiliary verb do because the simple present action already communicates present time. If you want to make a statement stronger, you can use do. For example, I eat sushi. I do eat sushi. Now, the action of do is connected with the subject pronoun of I, you, we, they. So I do, you do, we do, they do. Now, that's okay for the first person and the second person, but in English, it's a problem that the third person has the auxiliary verb of does. So, does he, does she, does it, does Alan. The ES at the end of the do helps us to understand we are communicating about a third person. So do or does. Now, most people move the ES to the end of the simple present verb to help us understand we're speaking about a third person. Okay, so she does eat pasta is down here, but does, goes, eats, has, and likes. Most people don't speak the does eat. She eats pasta. She goes to the supermarket. Now, the next thing that we can do with the auxiliary verb is make the auxiliary verb negative. So, not. I do not, she does not. Now the statements change to the negative form. Okay, but it's important. When we use the negative form, we must use the auxiliary verb. In the positive form, it is an option, but in the negative form, it is mandatory. We must use it. I do not eat pasta. Or she does not eat pasta. Okay, now that's very important. Now, the next thing to do is to practice changing time. We can make our statements in the past time and the future time. So the auxiliary verbs communicate time. So if we change from do, we can change it to did or did not, or we can change it to the future, will or will not. Now the past and the future auxiliary verbs do not have a third person. So at the bottom of the screen here, do and does disappear. And they become did not and will not. And these apply to all of the subject pronouns. So, I did not eat pasta, she did not eat sushi becomes our statement. Or I did eat sushi, I did eat pasta and she did eat pasta. To make a future statement, change your auxiliary verb to the future form. So I will eat pasta. I will not eat pasta. She will eat sushi. She will not eat sushi. Okay, now we can make our statements in the past, present, and the future. The next thing to do is to practice asking the questions. So remember, you can change the statement to a question if you change position of the auxiliary verb and the subject. Now, a negative auxiliary verb makes a negative question, but we'll practice negative questions later. So we will use the auxiliary verb and the subject. And the question is, did you eat pasta? Did you eat sushi? That's the closed question. We can use a key, and the key makes an open question. So when did you eat pasta? Where did you eat pasta? You can use most of the keys. We can't always use all of the keys. And then we can make the choose question. Did you eat pasta or sushi? Okay, that's pretty much the action of do in the past, the present, and the future time. In our next series, we will practice another skill. Thanks for joining me.